Boys and girls, here we are again, welcoming you to the next awesome episode of the Lion's Den of Leadership podcast, where what we do is we dissect successful and up-and-coming entrepreneurs. We sort of open up, look in their business, help them organize things, and hopefully stitch them back up and send them on their way to be just a little bit more successful. While doing that, all of us, the audience, get to learn, get to be exposed to all that sort of, let's call it a sausage being made, right? It's like the back end of entrepreneurship, which some people feel it's the glorious, it's the glorious profession in the world. But in reality, there's a lot of dirt shoveling, right? And our guest today is Paul Kankowski. Paul, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How you guys doing today?
Oh, we're doing really, really well. I wanted to start with giving you a bit of a challenge. So, Paul, you're a pretty successful entrepreneur, wouldn't you say so?
I'm doing well. Yes, I got in as an investor, and so property management came in after that.
Very, very good. Well, let me introduce my co-host. First of all, Steve Rozenberg. He is the master behind Empire Industries, along with his partner Pete. He also flies big planes, and that's his kind of a side hustle. So, Steve, it's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks. And I think that, just not necessarily to give you a plug, but I'll give you a plug. I think that, people know you and they know who you are and they know you're in the industry. I don't know if they really realize the value of what you bring to the table with FourandHalf and everything that you do. And I would, as a business owner myself, I would tell people that you probably should go either, if you don't look on Alex's site, because I get a lot of stuff just by looking on people's sites and education, but you may want to have a conversation with Alex in general. And I don't know if they talk to you, Alex, or who they talk to, however your hierarchy works. But, I have learned so much from you, and I still do to this day when we talk. And I think that, people think that, because we're out there and we have a lot of answers, and we really don't. I have learned that by talking to people like you and following what FourandHalf does, I think it's a great segue to learn a lot of things. So I would just tell people that are watching this show and listening to it, take a couple minutes and talk to Alex if you want on what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. You and I talk a lot. You don't even try to pitch or sell me. You just give me honest advice saying, look, this is a problem. You need to fix this. So I think people need to realize that, yes, you have this show, but you also have a very good business that offers a lot of value that I think people need to remember that and take advantage of what you do and what you offer.
Steve, I highly appreciate that. So, right, as a CEO of FourandHalf, that's my main business. So if anyone's interested in growing their property management business, we can certainly have a conversation. Of course, having implemented, or mostly, almost like say 80% through EOS, talking to the visionary is probably not the right way to do it. But since those of you who listen to the podcast, alex@fourandhalf.com, email me. Happy to talk to you. But of course, I have staff, very, very highly trained and qualified folks who's been with me for years and years. But anyway, let's actually dig into Paul. So Steve, I appreciate that plug. But Paul, here's my question to you. How do you stack up against the top earning YouTuber that was just announced in Forbes magazine? His name is Ryan. He's running a channel called Toys Review. He's 7 years old, and he made $22 million this year from YouTube. How are you doing with? How do you compare yourself to that guy?
That 7-year-old. I wish he was my kid.
Yeah, no kidding. I call that retirement.
Boy, I mean, you all of you just listening, go check out this Forbes article. It's just really it kind of open up your horizons a little bit, because I have little children, and if you don't, you may not be exposed to it. But my kids don't watch cartoons. My kids watch these unboxing videos or other kids playing with toys. It's really it's fascinating to me. They can spend hours looking at different toys, how they're being unpacked, how they're being played with, and interaction with other kids. It's just fascinating to me. They're basically in somebody else's living room, kind of virtually playing, imaginatively playing with them. It's just amazing. And these kids who are doing that, making millions of dollars. So, Paul, how's your business? Are you making $1 million yet? I mean, what is your revenue at? Give us some ideas where your growth and your trajectory.
Well, just to give a little bit background on my business, about 5 years ago, I was just doing investing and I started in property management, and I didn't want to grow. I just wanted to manage my properties, my mom's properties, and my brother's properties, and I wanted to learn how to be a property manager. So I didn't just get into it because I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I just thought that, I didn't know what I was doing. So then a couple years later, I was like, okay, I want to grow now. And if you saw me at any of the NARPO events, I was the guy in the wheelchair because I broke my leg in 5 spots in a skiing accident. So that left me in a boot for 9 months. So there went growth. And any growth we had there was kind of bad growth because it was kind of like, I was taking on people, I was doing that. This year, we've doubled in size. We went from 75 doors to 150 doors. Right before I got on this call, I just turned down someone with 4 doors. So I want to grow right. I don't know if it's always, and I've learned this from other people, it's not always about growing as fast as you can. It's about growing with the right doors. And I know I've had conversations with other property managers say, oh, just take them. I'm trying to get the doors that are going to be profitable. And I'm in the process right now of changing my whole pricing structure and making it, because I did the whole thing last year with PM Grow, which was amazing. You guys did an awesome job. I was one of those companies that you dissected. And I was one of those companies that my wife made a ton of money with sales due to our property management, but you guys didn't look at that. And you guys basically said, no, you're not doing a good job as a company. You need to make more money, be more profitable, and you need to do it in a better way. So this whole year we've changed it, and that's kind of where I've hired people, and that's where kind of the wheels fell off the bus, and I realized, wow, we need good systems in place. If we're going to double in size, if we're going to do this, we need that. So I think we're doing well. We are very comfortable with how we're doing, but this next year, is going to be the big year. And I've listened to Steve, you talk about you had 200 doors and you kind of, things were falling off the bus until you got your systems in place.
Yeah. And what's interesting real quick, Alex, and Paul, one of the things we had a bit of a shift this year mentally. Everyone talks about doors, right? Everyone's into doors. And my sales manager that we hired that took over my place because I was a crappy sales manager because I would take any door because I'm in the thrill of the hunt. Because to me, a deal is a deal. I don't care. I want the win. So we stopped doing that because me and Pete would be at each other's throats almost daily as to why we took a door, and I would basically push it down. But the new sales manager said, I have a question. And we said, well, what's up? He says, if this is about making money, why are we so worried about the doors? Why don't we focus on the revenue the door's bringing in? And why don't we make that a goal as opposed to bringing in a door? He said, why aren't we focused on how much property management fee per door, how much revenue per door? Why aren't we making it about money? If we're basically saying we want doors, but we really want revenue. We want money. We want profitability, but we're hiding it behind doors. Everyone equates doors to all this high revenue, but we all know that that is not directly related. So why not make more revenue per door, figure out ways to capitalize more, and only go after high revenue potential doors? So we had a bit of a shift, and we were like, I don't know, never thought about it. Just always thought everything was doors. So to your point, Paul, it's when you focus on something, right? When that is what you focus on, that's what you'll get. So we were not necessarily focused on revenue. We just assumed when we get doors, revenue will come. But then we're like, well, why not make that our focus? That is our goal, revenue per door. Let's get our revenue per door up as much as we can, which is what we've always wanted to do and we've always done. But now it actually is a focal point for us.
Well, and I would say half the doors I added with the broken leg, I've gotten rid of. So I just think the Vicodin didn't have me thinking clearly. So, I mean, that right there, you only have so many hours in a day, and you can either, make your business amazing and keep the doors you have and make more channels of profit and then grow right. And so, I mean, at our last conference, this was something I took at. One person's making $300 more a month because she changed her whole renewal process. So now it's being outsourced and anyone can do it. We could go to her company and do her renewal process. And before, her property managers had to do every step and they did it 10 different ways. So that's where I'm focusing on. That's what, I look at you, Steve, and I've listened to your podcast and your things in the past. And it was 9 months ago that I said, dang, I want to get better systems in place. I'm hiring people. I want to keep good quality people. And so the last conference we had people with 1,000 doors, people with 50 doors, and they all got something different because everybody needs either need systems in place or they need to make their systems better.
So what is the structure of your company? How many people do you employ right now, Paul, and how do you structure hierarchy?
Well, I employ 4.5 people, and I say a half because one's part-time. So 4.5, there we go. So my wife does sales, and when sales are slow, then she works on, correcting my grammar and writing up, doing owner's manuals and things like that. But her main focus is sales. If sales are going good, she was the breadwinner back, when, the sales market was going crazy. That's her area. Then I have a property manager. Then I have an inspector. And then there's me, which I do sales right now. I go out on all the appointments, but I used to do everything up until a year ago. I did everything, and it was just a one-man show, and everything was in my head. And so it was really easy not to have systems in place when everything's in your head. And then the second you hire someone and then you tell them, why can't you do what's in my head? No one can do what's in your head. I don't get it. I don't know why. But you have to have it. You have to have procedures and policies in place, and then it becomes efficient, and then you need less people, and you get more dollars.
When you say sales, just so I understand, are you talking real estate sales or bringing on new clients for property management sales?
Real estate sales. I do all bringing on new clients right now. Yeah.
So you have a sales division of realty sales.
Yes.
Then you have a BDM division, which happens to be the same person, which is you.
Yes.
Now, do you have a marketing division?
I'm the marketing person too. Right now, I am in the process of hiring a marketing person. We've been looking for 2 months. I am doing a marketing person where I'm going to have them 2.5 days, and then another company is going to have them 2.5 days, because we're in different markets. We work really well together, and we're going to start off with a half and half so that they can, a lot of the marketing they could do for both of our companies.
Let me ask you this. What is the goal of your company, size-wise, revenue-wise?
Goal of my company is next year we want to add 100 doors, 100 profitable doors that, are good doors. I don't want to add doors just to add doors, but I want to add 100 doors next year. But my main goal in my company right now is that I could die tomorrow. They could walk over my body and my company can run without me there. If I die tomorrow, I don't think that's possible right now. I think if I die tomorrow, that there's going to, the customer service is going to go down. And that's my number one goal. I mean, I'm growing 10 doors a month right now, doing nothing advertisement wise, except for having good Yelp and Google reviews. I'm doing 5 to 10 doors, and we're maintaining that. I want to get all the systems in place. I want to hire a BDM, and then I want to start growing. But I don't want to hire a BDM until every system that I have is, not that they're ever going to be in place, because I know you're still working on yours, Steve, but till the point where that someone could go in there and they would know what to do from looking at our systems, and they wouldn't have to look into my brain.
So why do you need, sorry, Steve, why do you need a half a marketing person? This is curious. And by the way, marketing is
I was curious too. I was going there too.
Like if you're growing at the clip, so something doesn't add up. So if you're growing at 5 to 10 a month, presumably, with reputation alone, organic, 100%, those are very inexpensive doors. Why are you getting a marketing person in place?
Because right now, everything I do is through Fiverr. Like, I need this flyer made. I need this. I want the marketing person to continue to, I want my presentation, all that presentation software to be better. I want my, I don't do this, but I want like the Twitter, the Facebook. I want all those pages updated weekly. I want my blog starting done. I want to start keep the organic growth. Yes, we're doing well with people calling us, but I know what my competition's doing. And if I sit back and put my hands under my butt, then by the time I get all my systems in place, by the time I get this, I'm going to be lapped. And so, the marketing person we're looking for is an outsourced marketing person. We're looking for, they would be considered a high-end paid person for their country, but what they can do is pretty amazing. These are people with master's degrees in English and they can do. I know my weakness. I'm dyslexic and ADD. I mean, I you know, and I'm one of those people that goes. But, you know, if, you know, I want someone who can write really well and who can, you know, when I write something up, they can change it, they can do it, and I can focus on my systems. I can focus on other things. I just think there's so many things for us to focus on that's why I want a halftime person. And the person I'd be sharing it with, I'm really good friends with. And I just think that's a good start for marketing.
That's very interesting concept. Steve, when do you hire your first marketing person, and what did you have them do?
Well, our first marketing person is our same marketing person, that Kevin.
Kevin 07?
You know. Yeah, Kevin 07. Yeah. So
that's what we call him up in here.
Yeah, he's a machine, man. And now he's got 4 people underneath him in the marketing department.
Wow.
Here's the challenge, though. Let me back up a second, though, to some of the things Paul said. Is one of the challenge I think you have, Paul, is I think you're thinking that this marketing person is a silver bullet. And if you look at disc profiles, you are combining a lot of disc profiles into one person, meaning you want the creativeness of someone with social media, but the C personality of being able to write blogs. And then you want them to be technically savvy here. And you want them to, so I think you're mixing a lot of things. I don't know that a person like that exists. You may need to dissect this a little bit more and part it out. Now, my question is you, I'm assuming, are a C in the disc profile. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm a go-getter.
Right. So that is not necessarily the sales side of someone or the marketing side. So if you were to say, let me ask you this, where do you think your position is on the bus? Where is that position?
My position, I want my position to be overseeing stuff, basically working on the company instead of in the company. I want to get to the point where I don't want to be my BDM. Like I want to get my systems in place, and I want to hire a BDM full time.
So operations or vision, Paul? Operations or vision?
Vision. That's where I want to be doing vision. I want to be completely out of operations. I want to be to the point where, you know, my company's running and I'm like, let's implement this, let's do this. And I'm doing more visionary stuff that's making my company better, more profitable, where I have time. I mean, before this year, it was just me. I didn't have time to do any visionary stuff. I was, you know, going and taking photos. I haven't taken photos of a property in a long time. I haven't done an inspection in a long time. That's a big shift. I don't deal with maintenance. Those are big shifts from where I used to be a year ago, but I want my shift to be, you know, where my focus is like you guys. I mean, you know, Steve, you're not, if I called you and said, hey, what's happening at Maple Street? You wouldn't know what's happening at Maple Street. Your people have it taken care of.
I don't even know Maple Street exists, but let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Paul. First, let me ask you, what is your conversion rate as a BDM?
When I go to a sales lead simple, I have a 44% conversion rate.
No, that was my question. When somebody raises their hand and says, I would like to talk to the people at House Match.
Yeah.
What is the conversion rate of those people that you actually end up closing as clients?
Lead simple says 44%.
Okay.
And so I basically, if I get to the door, it's very rare that I don't close a deal.
Okay. So here's the challenge. A lot of people want to build the system first. And a lot of people think if you build it, they will come. But I think you need to back up. If it were me, I would invest much more into the marketing side to make the phone ring more before I built anything else. Because you don't know what systems are going to break until they're breaking. Because you don't know what's around the next corner. You don't know what systems will break at 250 or 400 properties because you haven't been there. Just like we won't know what breaks at 2,000 doors because we've never been there. A lot of people think that if I build it, I'll be structured for it, which you keep saying. I keep hearing you say that you'll build structure, and you should be okay. I disagree. Now, my business partner, Pete, he's like you. He says, oh man, we got it. I'll give him an idea and he'll go, that's great. What kind of system do we put on it? I'm like, killing me. But my point is that I think what you need to think about is it's not necessarily build it and they will come. Make the phone ring and they will come. If you have a 44% conversion rate, the first thing you need to invest in, and my opinion is you need an Alex 4.5 company. You need a full-time person. If you hire a part-time person, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get part-time work.
Yeah. So this is Jacques McNeil says this, and this is just, again, I understand that the different people think different ways, and there's a lot of ways to succeed, Paul. And I'm going to be very excited to and cheer for you and help you in any way possible. But in my opinion, I think I'm sort of leaning this way as well. Jacques McNeil said it best. He said, "I'm not looking for what, I'm looking for who." Right? I'm looking for the who can solve this, where I can sort of delegate and know it's been done as long as I measure and I get feedback and we iterate. That's that part of my business is solved. I'm going to the next one. And so I think in your case, I think that part-time person is going to be an interesting they're just going to follow what you tell them to do. And what you're going to do, you're going to run them into the ground. This is my thing. You're going to tell them to do this, change this article, do this. Okay, I want you to social media. And then you're going to start getting frustrated because they don't really understand because there's no process in place, right? You don't have a marketing process. You're not going to come up with it all of a sudden. It's going to be a very, very sort of a trial by error. And what's going to happen is your resources will be locked in that person for a little while. You may get the ROI, but I think it's going to take some patience and some doing. This is just my outside opinion.
I agree with both of you, but the thing is that right now the amount of doors we've been adding this year, they've been what I've wanted to handle, what I can handle at an A++ service. And that's why I'm saying to you guys, I want to make sure we have the best systems in place because I want to hire more people so I could add more doors. Right now, if you told me I was going to add 50 doors this month, I would do it. I would just never see my kids and I'd never sleep. And, and that's not where I want to be. I'm in a stage in my life, I don't want to work 80, 90 hours a week and never see my kids because I'm adding 50 doors. There's also a point where you say, do I want to add, monetarily wise, do I want to do this because it's going to be a big thing, but then I'm never going to see my family. And I know there's a lot of people out there that will do that. I want to add doors at a good rate, at a good thing, but I still want to be able to focus on my kids who are in 8th grade and sophomore year. 5 years from now, my kids are gone. So, my son and daughter are both playing high school sports, doing stuff like that. I want to be part of it. That's why I left being a school principal. Because when I was a school principal, I worked 6 days a week. I would get back at 9 o'clock at night and leave at 6 in the morning. So I want a balance, and having a balance, I want to hire people to make sure. And doing that, Steve, you're right. Systems have to break. Systems break when you double your size. So, and I understand systems are going to keep breaking. That's why I've made a relationship with Errol, because I do want him to work together to get our systems right before they break more.
Yeah. And let me just say, Errol, obviously, we were we were the first persons to start with him and kind of bring him in. But the one thing that we learned from Errol, and you said it perfectly, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, the true definition of a business is that your business operates without you being there and it grows. So the question is could you leave for a month and come back and your business be stronger and bigger than it was the day that you left?
No.
And if the answer is no, then you don't have a business, you have a job at some variation. And I think all of us, look, we all have that variation, right? With none of us, I don't know if any, I probably could, but I've got a Pete running things, but it may not grow as much because I'm on the growth side. But I think the reality is, there are some things that have to be audibleized and there's some things that have to be done, but the core structure of your company, the lifeline of any company, what I think people have a hard time understanding is this industry, the intricacies of the processes and procedures that are required for this industry is so vital for success. Yet that is the one thing that people don't focus on. They focus on all these other things and gadgets and apps and all this stuff. But when you ask them about policies and procedures, because all of us at some level are entrepreneurs and we want to hurry up and get things out, we want to get it to market, we don't double back and actually go, But how do we do that and replicate it over and over again? Because what we do in this industry is a replicatable process. When you onboard an owner, it is the same. It should be the same way every single time without fail. And if you have the right systems, the challenge we all have, and the challenge with, leveraging people, whether they're employees or whether you're outsourcing to another country or whatever, I think the biggest challenge we all have is we lack the systems. When we lack the systems, we lack the ability to duplicate who we are. And it almost shines a light on our weakness. And then what do? We go, you know what, just get out of the way. I'll do it myself because you can't do it as good as me. But like you said, they can't get into my head for some reason. They can't figure out what I'm thinking, right?
That's very frustrating. I went through that as well, and still to some extent. It's like, why can't you do it as good as I think you should be doing? It's easy in my view.
Yeah, look, and nobody can see the vision that we see, right? We all opened a company at some level. All three of us are entrepreneurs. We started a company with a vision. The question is, what happens, I think the biggest challenge is we go from being leaders to being managers. And that's a very thin line of being able to discern that I am a leader or I am a manager. The leader says, hey, I've got this vision going over that hill and we're going to conquer this. And everybody runs behind you as you run up the hill. The manager gets behind everyone and says, everybody up the hill. That's the difference between management and leadership. And what happens is people that own companies, entrepreneurs, they lose that vision and they revert back to managing people because they don't have the systems in place.
It's familiar because the failure is not as pronounced because, you feel like you're in there and you're in the comfort zone. Leadership is stepping out of that comfort zone and being very, very honest with yourself. And that's what EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, it's been, Steve, I'm over it a little bit, but I've been like crying to you, right? It's been kicking my ass, man.
It's tough.
Way. They took all my direct reports. I'm sitting flopping around here, and they're like, we need you to drive this company. We need you, the vision. What are we going to look like in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years? What the product's going to look like? How technology is going to be, married with the service, and how we're going to deliver that, and all this competition coming up, and it's my job, but it's so comfortable to be the operator. It's so comfortable. It's my lane. I want to stay in that. No, you can't do that.
Well, and one of the biggest challenges, and Paul, I don't know if you run into this, but a lot of companies I talk to is, when we are the owner of the company, we want everyone to be accountable, right? We want, hey, you've got KPIs, you've got accountability, you need to show up on time, you need to be at meetings on time, you need to be prepared. The challenge a lot of us have is we don't hold ourselves accountable to the same level. We don't have KPIs that we actually have to turn into someone. So when I've done speaking events and I've talked to owners, and I did it in Australia to a bunch of owners, and I said, well, everyone raise your hand who's an owner, and they raised their hand. I said, okay, of this group that raised their hand, who are you accountable to? Who do you answer to? And they said, well, no one, because I'm the owner. And I said, well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe you should be fired because you are setting a bad example for the rest of your team because, the fish stinks from the head down, it flows downhill, whatever analogy you want to use. But the reality is we are not holding ourselves to the same standard accountability as we are our employees. And they go, well, fuck, he's not doing it. Why should I do it? I don't care. He doesn't have KPIs. He doesn't show up on time to meetings. He's not prepared. But when you are accountable and you have someone that you have to answer to, like a board of directors, or you've got people that say, hey, Alex, what's going on? You had some numbers to hit. You didn't hit them. Why? Now you're doing the carpet dance trying to answer. That's when things start changing and you go, okay, what is my role? Am I operator? Because what happens, Alex, is you go, you know what? I can't tinker anymore. I've got to lead the company because that's what I'm being measured on. And I tell people, look, you are expendable like everyone else is. Pete and I have had the conversation. Our company is growing at such a fast pace that if Pete and I do not keep up with the company will outgrow us. If we are not constantly learning and we are not changing our metrics, I have accountability to Pete. I've got things that I have to accomplish. There's things that I have to do. If I am not held accountable, he'll pull me out and say, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you hitting your numbers? And I've got to answer to him, and same to him. So I think that's one of the things that I have learned, that just because I own the company doesn't make me immune to doing my job. I don't get to revert back to that comfort zone of being operator that we all get to think we do. I mean, do you guys fall into that too sometimes? Because I know I did.
I personally am accountable to every week. we give three goals of like, I need this form written up, this written up. And then on Friday, we go through every person, because we're a small company, what you accomplished with your goals. If I don't accomplish my goals, then on Friday, when I go in there, I'm going to get these 5 videos on my site and done. Well, I better get those 5 videos on my site and done, because they can see if I did it or did not do it. I also have an accountability group that I did after the last NARPM broker owner, where we have 5 property managers. We meet once a month by like this, and we each give a goal that we want for the month that we want to get. So I know at the end of that month, when I meet with them, if I didn't get my goal done, I'm going to make a new management agreement. I'm going to make a new price structure, whatever that agreement is. I have to go in front of 5 of my peers and say, sorry guys, I dropped the ball. I'm not there yet. And in July, I did that. I went in front of all the group and I said, yeah, I didn't get my goals done for this month. It was embarrassing. Like,
it's tough.
It was, yeah. So I agree 100% with the accountability. And I agree with you about the marketing of hiring FourandHalf, or, hiring outside sources, someone professional do it. What I'm saying right now is, where I'm growing, I'm good at the rate I'm growing at right now, until I get the systems in place that I feel like we can double the growth or triple the growth. Then I have no problem putting in that money forward. But I don't want to throw money and then give bad service, or all of a sudden my 44% goes down to 10% because I'm not getting back to people. I'm not meeting with them with a timely manner. I don't. So I want to make sure that's why reason I started the system conference wasn't because I think I'm a systems guru. I'm not a systems guru. I started this conference because Chris Molinex called you and said, hey, Steve, who do we know that can do systems? We know you do a good job. And you said, call Arrow. And so then I called Arrow and I said, wow, it's going to be pretty costly to get Arrow to come out and talk to me. As a small company owner, I said, let me just get 10 property management companies I don't know, and we'll go meet in Vegas, and we're just going to share the cost for Arrow. There was no, we were going to share the cost of dinner, share the cost of Arrow. Now, Arrow was amazing. You guys have had him on the show. He was awesome. He did a great job. He knows his stuff. He knows what he's doing, and he really kicks your butt. And then the other thing that was amazing was it was such a small workshop. Having 10 companies there together. When I went to the NARPM National, the 4 of the companies that were there at my systems conference were at NARPM National. We hung out together. Like, I could call those 10 companies, because it's not a NARPM event with 700 companies there or something like that. It's a small group. So you really, we're sitting there, and Errol really, his big thing is asking you questions. No matter if you have 1,000 questions or 200 doors, he asks you questions and he pokes at you. And I told him, no holds barred. I want you to find the holes in our company. So you're working with 3 other companies and you're working on your move-in structure. And then he's like, well, why would you do that? Would that make sense? Is that going to make you more money? And he just asked questions where you might have just said, well, that's how we do it. And that's not an acceptable answer to Errol. Errol is, you need to give me the reason. You need to give me the how, what, when, why, And so planning this next conference, we're planning it together. And I send Errol the sheet of the agenda, and all he does is poke a bunch of questions. And I'm like, no, we're planning this together now. Now's the time to come up with solutions.
Yeah.
You don't need to, it's not like you're working on my systems. And so we had to learn that together. But yeah, no, this is there because I wanted to have a way for people to start working with Errol. And like, one of the companies that has 1,000 doors, after they left the conference, they hired Errol. And now he's working with them, through a consulting basis. And he's a busy guy.
So talk to us, Paul, talk to us about the dates and how many people you expect. Because FourandHalf is going to sponsor. You sent me the packet. I want to be there. Like, I literally, for my own business. For my own business, I want to be there because we interviewed Errol. I was incredibly impressed with his sort of a real diligent, as you call, investigative sort of question patterns. Like, he really, like, he knows how to ask, how to listen, and to process the information, and then really challenge you without really just being in your face. He's just you challenge yourself. He leads you that way. But so talk to us about the dates. Who do you expect? What kind of companies would be best fit? Would benefit the most out of the conference, Paul? How many people you expect? Give us the lowdown.
Okay, so the dates are January 14th through 16th. The best companies, I think, are all size companies. I mean, I had Chris Molnick, CRM Properties. They have about 800 or 900 doors, and they're saving $300 a month from some of the things they took out. They're going back to the conference again. That's how much value they felt it was added to their company that they're flying back out there again in January to be a part of it. So you have the big companies, they're going to benefit from it because your systems aren't perfect, and he's going to find holes in your systems. And then the smaller companies, if you were like I was a year ago, 50, 75, get your systems, start working on them now. Start working and getting them down. If you just started your business, get your systems down. There's going to be some powerhouse people. Being there and being able to talk to Steve Rozenberg for those days, that is huge alone. I mean, to me, just being able to sit there, the vendors are in the room. The property manager in the room. Everybody's in the room. No one's like outside the room. No one's like not part of it. We have 3 dinners together, nice restaurants. We go to nice restaurants. We have lunches together. You are with these people for 10, 12 hours a day, and you really get to know the other managers. Like there's a lot of them, like I said, I'm still talking to, and I feel that the conference benefits of the conference are still occurring. Because they're sending me stuff like, one of the people we're both working on changing our new owner a new property procedure. And we just keep sending our stuff back and forth to each other. And now when the advanced conference comes, the whole point of that is we're going to poke holes in everything we've worked on from this point on. So my thing is that if you want to make more money, then I think this is good because it's going to save you money by getting good systems. If you want to grow, this is going to be huge because it's going to let you grow.
And, let me just say something that I think is pretty interesting, talking about Arrow. So the way that we got Arrow was through our business coach. So, we've been coached for 6 years from a business coach, same coach. And he was the one who actually introduced us to Arrow. Chris and Julie are now, Chris reached out to me in a very weird, twisted way. Chris actually manages my nephew's properties, rental properties. So my nephew lives in Los Angeles. He has rental properties. Chris manages them. Chris, I guess, put 2 and 2 together from the last name and said, "Is that your uncle that lives in Texas?" And he said, "Yeah." So I met Chris. I actually introduced Chris to my business coach, who is now getting coached from my business coach in Houston. Chris and Julie are. And then the other day, I go walking into the office, and Pete, my business partner, is having a Google Hangout conference showing someone our systems, our checklists, our manuals, and it's Julie. So think of the one call that Chris made to me about saying, "Hey, Steve, so-and-so, all of a sudden, all of this windfall of going to your conference, learning what they've learned, now he's in with my business coach. Now he's talking to Pete about our systems and our checklist. Is it just $300? I think it's a lot more than that. I don't even think you can monetize and put a number on what Chris and Julie have gotten out of just that one phone call. So that just goes to show, like you said, it's not just one conference that they're going to. They're getting a lot of value. I mean, look, talking to Pete about his systems, getting our business coach that helped us grow, meeting Errol, talking to you, and then going to the conference and just mixing with like-minded people. I don't know how you put a price on that.
I agree. And the only reason I can validate the $300 is because that is one little system they changed.
Sure.
That they know saves them $300 a month. So they're like, that was just one little tidbit, one little nugget they got from that conference, saved them $300. That was a 5-minute conversation, saved them $300. So they're like,
Paul, give us the website. Sorry to interrupt. I want to make sure we mentioned how to go get the tickets, because I'm sold. Like literally, you guys sold me already. I want to go get them. How do you go get them?
Yeah, pmsystemsconference.com, PMSYSTEMS conference.com. It's right there. We're also doing a special for Steve because, we are so excited Steve's going to be a part of this, that if you put Empire in when you buy, you'll get $100 off. So we're doing that for 5 people. So the next 5 people that get a ticket will get $100 off because we're so excited about Empire coming.
That's really cool. Let's see if we sell them out. But Paul, we're not live, right? So we don't have the ticker counting. Like this is like those TV, the shopping channels. Like you'll have, we only have 2 left. Hurry up! Oh, sold out.
It'll be there. So I mean, it'll be there for at least the whole time it goes.
Let me ask you, Paul, how big do you now this is, you've expanded this from 10 to 20, is that right? For this conference, you're allowing 20 to come, is that correct?
We were at 13 last time because I wanted to do 10, and then 3 people begged me to get in, and they signed up the last day, so we went to 13, and that was actually really good. But yeah, we're doing 20, and the reason we're doing 20 is first up, the last one I did in 3 weeks. So it was, I wanted to get someone, I put it on Facebook. People paid me in cash as they walked up to the door. Half the time people were paying me PayPal. It wasn't, and then we were like, me and Errol, after every time everyone would go to lunch, and me and Errol would sit there and be like, what did we do good? What did we do bad? Let's change this for the afternoon. We were planning the thing while we were doing it, and people loved it. But like my education background, 17 years of it, and his just being Errol, was an amazing combination because my whole thing is I don't want people to be just sitting there listening to someone for an hour straight. You're going to go 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you're going to be doing something. You're going to be doing something, and then there's going to be a lot of time where you're working. But when you leave that conference, you should have, if you use it to its extent, you should have 2 to 5 systems done in 2 days. And I'm averaging 1 system a week if I'm not busy work-wise getting it done, but it's not in the next week I have to revise it. But if I can get 2 to 5 done in those 2 days, then that money's well worth it because it takes a long time to get them done.
Do you see this being able to be a scalable, we'll call it a conference, do you see this being scalable to a larger audience? Because I think that what Errol brings and just the mindset and the ideology behind it, because we haven't even gotten into the whole checklists of the value of checklists, which me, being a pilot and being trained by Boeing Airlines for the last 25 years, I understand how checklists work. And I feel like you haven't even scratched the surface of what people need. But I think at 20 people a pop, it's gonna take you a while to traverse that. Is it a scale? But is it something that has to be a small, intimate group in your mind?
I like the small intimate, but it is scalable to 50 people. But if it's scalable, I would bring other people on besides Errol. I would have table leaders. I would have people that have been to it in the past, people that have been advanced. I let them, they could go for free at that time, and those people could sit there and work, and it would still benefit those people. But you want to have that group setting. It's scalable in the sense that when we had 13 people, we had some says, I really want to work on my move-ins. I really want to work on my new owners. People wanted to work on different things. So we set up tables, and then people were working together, and then Errol walked around, and then he would say, what are you guys working on? What are you doing? And then he would poke questions at you. Now, Errol and your partner, it sounds like they're very similar. So, if we had both of them there, they could both poke at people, and really you need that poking because Errol is good at walking around saying, why, Steve, why are you doing this? This makes no logical sense because that's how I've done it for 3 years. Errol won't allow that to be an answer, and that's what you need. Could I be in that place in 3 or 4 years like you are? Or like, I think maybe I could be. I hope I am. I mean, the reason I'm doing this conference is I want the best systems in my company.
Right. So, now, let me ask you this. And I don't know if you did this last time or something that you may want to think of doing, but do you have some sort of implementation calendar for people to do? Because, one of the things that we've learned from being coached is, we go to a 90-day meeting. And in that 90-day meeting, we say, okay, what are our goals for the next quarter? Now, we do this internally with our company, but we also do it with our coaching as well, where everyone from the whole coaching then comes to this 90-day, and they plan. Basically, you sit down, you plan out what your next 90 days are, and you put it. They're called rocks and pebbles, right? And so you put these rocks of saying, okay, we have 7 rocks that we're going to accomplish, just like the EOS, Alex. And then you say, okay, what is the steps to accomplish this rock? So you've got like a column, you got rows and columns. So you say, okay, here's the goal. And we got to do this week, this week, that week. And you basically chart it out for 12 weeks. Now, what's interesting is everybody front loads what they're going to be doing. They overassume that they can accomplish so much the first week or 2 weeks of the thing, and they have a full 12 weeks to accomplish that. I don't know if you're doing that, but again, you don't want everyone to run out thinking they're going to accomplish every single thing without anything actually looking at a sheet of paper going, okay, I'm doing this project first, and these are all the steps that are going to be required to complete that. While I'm doing that, maybe my wife can start this process. And at this point down the road, 4 weeks later is when I'm going to jump in on this process because this one will be offloaded. Did you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. One of the biggest things about this workshop is when you leave, the day you get back, you already have stuff done because you've worked on it while you were there. That's the biggest difference. And that's why I have 3 people that want to come back to it that went to the first one. They want to come back to it because they're like, you take care of all our food. We go all these nice, everything's done really nice, and I can work, and no one interrupts me, and I have Errol, and it's worth. I mean, for the price that we're giving to have Errol work with you, that's a really good deal.
Yeah, I think I put one of Errol's kids through college, I would have to say, because we had Errol for about, I would say, just to give you an idea, it was close to 2 years. He was in our office probably 3 times a week for several hours a day. I mean, I'll tell you what, we basically rewrote our company. You said something I think is very important that people need to realize. Undoing and redoing is a lot more energy and a lot more time and stress than learning it right the first way. And so when people say I'm too small, I'm like, you don't get it. You actually are the target that needs to go because you need to learn it right the first way. Don't undo it because you got stress, you got employees you're going to go through, you've got, clients. You're going to unscrew so many things that are screwed up. Just learn it right the first time.
You do it right, then you iterate from there. Because the systems, as you say, they don't need to break all the way necessarily every milestone, growth milestone. You do it right. If you flowchart it out, as Errol says, if you really put the systems in place, then you iterate based on scale. The scalability is going to sort of be there for you because the systems are not going to be the same 2 years from now, but the foundation is going to be the same. So I completely agree with you. There's one thought we gotta pretty much end in a few minutes, but I did process some of your stuff. We talked about your marketing and growth, and I think there's a really good. I think I have a really good sort of framework for you and people in your kind of space looking to build systems, but at the same time want to make sure they put enough marketing in place to, once the systems are in place, to flip a switch and grow, right? And grow with quality properties. So I think what you mentioned, Paul, is I think you need a copywriter. Like, I don't know. What's that?
What did you say, a copywriter?
You need a copywriter. What you don't need, I don't think you need somebody, even with a master education from another country. What happens is they are very eloquent in their writing, but the writing style is going to give you trouble, right? It's just
100% agree.
The language is not going to be yours. And I think what happens is it's going to be proper English, but it's going to be written like as far as we're concerned by alien, right? It's just not going to gel. Sometimes you might catch the right person, but chances are it's difficult. So here's what I would do if I was you. Here's what I would do. Okay. I would do 3 things. Number 1, I would do videos, and Steve does those. You should do. I would do videos on every single question you get. Like throughout the day, you get a question in the evening or before you leave office, I would set a goal of 1 video a day. Record 2 or 3 4-minute video. You send that raw file to your copywriter. She's going to produce or he's going to produce an article for you, right? And you have somebody who can the copywriter can publish it on your blog. That's not difficult.
They can just transcribe it, right, Alex?
You don't want to transcribe. You want the copywriter because you want copywriter help in other things because you want to tighten up your copy on the website, right? You want to tighten up your messaging. You want to tighten up your value propositions. You say you're dyslexic. You need that help. So I think the copywriter who knows your style, who knows who you are, they're not going to be expensive. You don't need to hire them. They can be not on retainer, but hourly based. And you can find there's some really hungry journalists out there. Really, really good people. Like we find our copywriters, man. Copywriters are a central piece of your strategy. So now you have the videos that creates a copy. Now that's what feeds the social channels. You don't need to come up with some wild strategies for your social channels. There's nothing that you do that will move the needle as much as quality educational content consistently published.
Massive action.
Where do you find your copywriters?
Excellent. Go to Craigslist and just publish an ad, describe what you need, and ask people to submit writing samples. Spend some time to interview. You will find amazing people. Like I'm telling you, they're taking advantage because my copywriter is in Italy. She travels to Italy, for 6 months a year. She could work from a Starbucks, but it's very, very advantageous relationship because she knows us. She knows who we are. She knows our brand. And then she's very, very competent, right? Okay. And you want somebody like that. Somebody, a marketing person that is in a different country can be a task, can do a very good job accomplishing tasks, maybe even correcting your English. But you're going to have to write that, man. And you have to write a lot. So if you want to grow, you have great reviews. The next thing you do, build huge amount of content that is super helpful. Like don't sell, don't do any of that. 100% helpful. So this is the framework I would recommend people.
Don't overcomplicate it.
Yep. Record a video, send it to your copywriter. Copywriter produces the actual written piece, publishes on your blog with the video, and then you have somebody who can just share it on social media. Or in fact, you can automate it. You can just automatically share stuff on your social media. That's all you need to do.
Yeah,
I agree.
I will definitely, I think that's a good thing to do. Right now, I've been doing my videos. I probably do 5 or 6 a month, and I've been subtitling, doing everything myself. And that's just not a good use of my time. That's why I've been trying to find someone to do it for me.
So copywriter, the last piece of advice, publish your ad on Indeed or Craigslist. Write out exactly what you're looking for to accomplish. Okay. And you will have a lot of applications, but be diligent, set aside some time to really, truly find somebody. And don't be afraid to let them go quickly. If they're not the right, you'll find very quickly, you'll find the right person. Like you will know if they're the right person or not. Like, the writing style will match. They'll just feel who you are. They'll be able to write off from your videos. But yeah, transcription from videos is not as good as actually putting real writing into it because the videos they don't sound as good on paper.
Yeah.
So do you guys, all right, Steve, do you have a last piece of advice for all of us here? Like, let's leave with something that Steve is going to
parting words of wisdom or
challenge
something?
us with. Yeah. What is the wisdom for the week?
A Steve salutation. I think what Paul is doing is something very similar to what everyone in the industry is having challenges with. And I don't think it's industry specific. I think it's entrepreneur specific. And I think what he's doing and what he's created with this systemization call to action, if you will, I think is going to be huge. I think it's a lot bigger than most people think because look, you can have all the widgets, you can have all the gadgets, but if you implode because of growth, because of lack of structure, lack of systemization, like Paul, the question I would ask is, can you take in 50 doors tomorrow and survive? If the answer is no, you may have a system problem, right? And not saying you need to do that, but I just think that what you're doing is so good. And I think people are going to get so much value. I feel bad that only 20 people can come because I think you're going to have a lot more than 20 people that can come, especially if I can, give some wisdom on how we do our company and how we outsource and how we utilize leverage and time. Because look, the one thing we all have in common is we don't get any time back. We all have 24 hours in a day, and we only have so much usable time in our days and in our lives. And we have to decide how best to use them. And the only way you can do that is by systemizing and leveraging. That's the only way. And I think what you're doing is you're showing people how to systemize, and I can show people how to leverage. And I think by doing that, they're going to have a much better business model than what they've had to date, hopefully.
Exceptional.
Can I just say one thing, Les? One of the things, tidbit that 80% of the people learned last time was adding new owners. 80% of the people there, new owners and new properties, was one procedure. It was one thing that happened. And that was something, just to give you an idea of something that Errol taught, is new owners and new properties are two different procedures, two different systems. Because what happens if you already have an owner and you add a property? Well, all of us said, well, you just skip those steps. And one of the biggest things he says is you don't skip steps. You make procedures where from start to finish, they can get done. And so those were the types of things. It seems like a very simple thing, but I was one of those people that when, we skip steps and that's the type of wisdom. It's little nuggets you're going to get. And Errol has a lot of nuggets. That was small.
And let me just say, very similar, and we've talked about this with Errol before, coming from the airline industry, we don't flip a switch if we're not using a checklist, right? Anything, even if it's a small circuit breaker popped, the wheel does not move until a checklist is done. So the standardization and the strict adherence to checklist mindset is ingrained in flying an airplane. And that needs to come over because it's very process oriented. So is this industry. Now we're not we're not 30,000 feet where we can kill people, but we can kill our business and our livelihoods, and skipping steps will kill you, right? You skip a step and you forget to check the box of paying an owner, that could kill you, right? And so those are the things, and that's so important. And that's what I think our experience at Empire comes in to be able to show people, this is why it's important. Errol's telling you it's important. We're telling you from firsthand experience why this is so vital, because this is what will happen if you don't. And that's where I think we'll bring a lot of kind of meat to the table on this one.
PMSystemsconference.com, is that right?
That is correct.
PMSystemconference.com. Go get your tickets. It'll probably be sold out by the time we publish this show, but give it a shot. Paul and Steve, it's an immense pleasure and honor to share an hour of just wisdom and back and forth entrepreneur stuff with you. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for listening, and be well.
See you guys.
Have a good day.